Hello and welcome to this MB Sportsweb video training series covering our online forms feature. In this first video we're going to just simply do an introduction of what the online forms feature is and a couple of the highlights of what the forms can do, and we'll also showcase some live demos. So for a quick introduction, the online forms feature of the site is basically built to replace any paper-based collection of information that you might be using. Possible applications of this include coaching applications or coaching evaluations or other types of evaluation forms, tryout pre-registrations or tournament registrations or even player registrations, expense claim forms, or surveys or feedback. Online forms are generally created at the association level or the tournament level if it's a tournament form. They can be created at the team level, but they cannot be created by Team Webmaster. So what that means is if you are a site administrator or a site webmaster, you can create a team level coaching evaluation form which is applicable for just that team, and then link to that form and collect the responses independently of other teams, but the team webmaster themselves cannot create the form. Forms can be completed online on both desktop and mobile versions of the site. Online forms can also be attached to an online payment using PayPal. This means that if whatever somebody is submitting the form for has a payment that is accompanying that submission, you can collect that payment online. As people are completing the forms, they can be exported to Excel, and they can also be emailed if you'd like. This is very advantageous for forms which might need to go to a group of people who don't have access to the back end of the website, so that the data that the people are submitting can go to those people automatically. Forms can also have submission limits, which can be set up as either a hard cap or a soft cap, and we'll go over the difference between the two later on in this series. And they can also have date ranges so that the forms can only be filled in during the selected dates. There's three main components of an online form. The first is sections, and sections are just ways to group sets of questions together for readability and for general appearance of the form. Acknowledgements, and acknowledgements have two purposes. They can either create an I agree to acknowledgement type checkbox on the form, but they can also simply add a rich text area on the form, so you can include pictures or links or larger fonts or special instructions or something else onto the form. And the third component, and the most important one obviously, is the questions themselves. And this is what you are going to be asking people. So each question will have the actual question text, and then we'll have a way for people to type into a box or to pick a date or to use a slider or select a star to answer the questions that you've asked of them. So let's take a look at some sample forms that are out on live websites. Our first example is on the Waterloo Minor Hockey site, and we're looking at what they have placed on their website as a volunteer application form. So very simply, they're just asking for people to submit their name and their contact information. Then also they ask what people specifically can help out with. The next form we'll look at is on the Oshawa Minor Hockey site. This form shows off an example of how to use the acknowledgement area without a checkbox to improve the look of the form by having some rich HTML content to put red text or bolded text on the form and to provide additional instructions. The next form we'll look at is the expense reimbursement form, which is found on the Halton Hills Minor Hockey website. This form has an acknowledgement that uses the actual checkbox part of the acknowledgement form to have people agree to the terms and conditions of the form itself. And again, looking at the different questions that they're asking, one thing that's nice is for this particular expense reimbursement form, the person who is requesting that the expense be reimbursed can also attach a electronic copy of the invoice or receipt to the form itself. So the person who is looking at doing the actual reimbursement has proof of their expense and can go ahead and process that reimbursement claim. The next example is the Northumberland Minor Hockey Tryout Passport Registration Form. So this is the ability for players to purchase their tryout fees in form of a tryout passport. And again, they're using the acknowledgement section to have an image on the top part of the form to explain to people what this is and what they're filling in. This form also has a payment attached to it. So once the payment provider has been set up within the settings of the form, then you can choose to have different payment options. And upon submission of this form, the person submitting the form would be taken to PayPal to process this transaction. And the last example we'll look at is a mobile version of the Guelph Minor Hockey site to give you an idea of what the forms look like on a mobile device. So this is a coaching application form, which again can be filled in on any phone. Now, depending on the composition of the form, if it's a long form, it might not be as useful to complete that form on a mobile device, but it is certainly possible to do so.